to bring your fire everywhere, call to bring your love, your fire everywhere, call to bring your love, call to bring your fire everywhere, call to bring your love, your fire everywhere.
We come together today to honor, appreciate, and celebrate our 13 sisters who are marking 70 and 75-year jubilees this year. We are deeply grateful for them and for their loving presence in our lives. We remember their generous service in so many ministries throughout these 70 and 75 years. And we remember how they have responded joyfully to God's grace throughout their lives. These 7 sisters, entering in 1948, remember their coming together in Leavenworth in those first days, remembering those first tentative steps, the postulant garb, the schedules, the bells, the Kansas heat. All began the formation that, as they learned from the Constitution, would happen in the fullest sense over a lifetime. Faithfully living up to the name they have had the honor to bear, these Sisters of Charity gather with us now. We celebrate all the ways that God has worked through them to bring the Lord's grace and love to the lives they touched, including our own.
Our celebrating sisters came from far and wide in response to that divine call to ministry. They came to offer their love and fire in humble service to the gospel. We celebrate with them that call that first captured their hearts. Called from Warrensburg, Missouri, Sister Marie Noel Brooke came by way of St. Mary College. That decision brought her years of teaching, working in child care through our orphanages, and serving at Catholic Social Services in Montana. She was the critical link between parents longing for a child and a child needing a strong family to thrive as she served in open adoption services. Sister Ann Callahan came south from her home in Des Moines, Iowa, and also entered through the threshold of St. Mary College, getting her degree in music education there. Her life was ringed with music, working with students from grade school to high school and college. Beloved among so many throughout her years as teacher, mentor, colleague, sister, friend, she added her unique notes to the mighty melodies of our SCL musicians. She spent some years in formation post-Vatican II. In these later years, her musicality enhanced the beauty of our Mother House liturgies. Who could miss it when she playfully hit the tutti stop on the organ to send the sound certainly heavenward? Butte, Montana is where the fire inside Sister Marie DePaul combo was ignited and grew. That flame grew through years in the classroom as teacher, principal, supervisor of schools, and in a new community role post-Vatican II as regional coordinator in Region 4, Denver. Theology studies and her work with social justice ministry and education followed. With all those who shared her passion, the challenges and potential of bringing healing to the social fabric were the places that the divine fire continued to illuminate.
Called from Butler, Missouri, the Show Me State, Sister Dolores Ehrman found her home in ministry as teacher and administrator in Catholic schools from Butte to Prairie Village and many places in between. With the opening of new ministries and new pastoral needs after Vatican II, she served parishes as pastoral associate in Sheridan, Lame Deer, and, before coming to the Mother House, St. Labray Indian School in Ashland, Montana. Sacristan for Annunciation Chapel and thoughtful decorator for our feast day tables were places she found to serve at the Mother House. Sister Edna Hunthausen remembers well the sight and sounds of Anaconda, Montana, the winter days when they would flood the town square and go ice skating, the memories of two brothers entering the priesthood for the Diocese of Helena, her Dutch and Jack, and their large cohesive family, where she was right in the middle. The grands and great-grands referred to the Magnificent Seven as the elders. Nebraska claims our Sister Marie Madeline Shonka, where, in the heartland, she heard the call to healing, and it led her to nursing and hospital administration. Her courage shone through during the Northridge earthquake, where St. John's in Santa Monica was all but destroyed. She gathered the community to heal that wound as well, and rebuilt stronger. When she moved east to Kansas City, she joined in healing hunger at the Seton Center and continues to find ways to mend the broken. Sister Mary Clarita Sternitsky's hometown in Muskogee, Oklahoma, was the bright spot in the geography that started her journey, carrying that brightness toward Leavenworth at St. Mary College, and in 1948, going south to begin a new adventure as an SCL.
Call to bring your love, call to bring your fire everywhere, call to bring your love, your fire everywhere, call to bring your love, call to bring your fire everywhere, call to bring your love, your fire everywhere.
The year was 1953. Dwight D. Eisenhower was sworn in as president, with Richard Nixon as his vice president. Queen Elizabeth II was crowned queen. The play, The Crucible, Arthur Miller's allegory, hit Broadway. Scrabble and wiffle ball were all the rage, and the first Chevrolet Corvette was built in Flint, Michigan. It was the same year that our 6 70-year jubilarians walked up the steps to the Mother House and never looked back. Born in Gray Cliff, Montana, Sister Dolores Brinkle and her siblings were sent to Billings for a Catholic education. St. Mary College also claimed her, feeding her passion for history and preparing her to teach. Post-teaching, Dolores was an early voice against the death penalty, working in prison advocacy and in penal reform. Honoring her roots on the land, she promoted rural life initiatives through the O'Hara Institute for Rural Ministry. In later years, archive work provided a way to honor the past while advocating for the future. The West also sent another one of its daughters as Sister Mary Carlo Calabrero looked east from Casper, Wyoming. She was drawn to teaching and taught at St. Mary College in the community high schools. Her work in medical records and as business manager was a background in data processing, brought her early into the technological age. Pastoral care in parishes also fed her gift and delight in relationships and community.
Sister Julia Golkowski lived just down the road in Kansas City, Kansas, and got to know the sisters at Holy Family Grade School and Ward High School. St. Mary beckoned post-secondary, and there she felt a call to live the SCL charism, seeing those characteristic virtues of humility, simplicity, and charity in action. This journey would take her to teach the little ones in grade schools throughout the community from Topeka to Rock Springs, Oklahoma City to Aurora, Chicago, Walkerville, and Helena, Montana. As principal, she would teach the teachers. Sister Mary Kenneth Messina hails from Harry Truman's hometown, Independence, Missouri, and she would find her calling with the very young and the very old. Early in ministry, she taught grade school throughout many of the schools that the SCL staffed, and later she found rewarding service to those in St. Joseph Care Center and Villa St. Francis. Sister Gloria Solomon's life is her opus, studying and performing music from a very young age. Some suggest that music is her first language, and she speaks it so eloquently. She followed her heart to the SCLs from Kansas City, Missouri. Teaching in grade schools, high schools, and college, and later director of music ministries in parishes as a musician and a liturgist, she touched so many lives with music and song. It is her composition that we sing today, Called to Bring Your Love. And there are others she has written that enrich the worship of the community.
Sister Catherine Mary Westuse is another Missouri native from Moberly. She and her sister Anita both heard the divine call and answered with their whole lives. She often tells of the days when she and Sister Anita would tend a garden wherever they were, plowing, planting, nourishing, picking and canning the product of the good earth. Whether in the classroom, tending young minds, or in the actual soil, tending the rich harvest and keeping it for times when it was needed, she was one who knew how to prepare.
Call to bring your love, call to bring your fire everywhere, call to bring your love, your fire everywhere, call to bring your love, call to bring your fire everywhere, call to bring your love, your fire everywhere.
Sister Marie Noel felt from early times that she had a vocation to religious life, and that vocation found its home when she entered St. Mary College. She immersed herself in theology classes to deepen her understanding of Jesus and the Catholic Church. Sister Mary Jude Reddle took her to visit Mother Mary Francesca, and she found her spot. Sister Marie Noel has always had a deep connection to nature and remembers her year in a wilderness cabin near Butte as a highlight in her life, as she spent many hours praying and soaking up the natural beauty around her. She had likewise found nature to be renewing and speaks of the divine. A mushroom hunt would always occasion a lovely day of renewal of spirit. Having seen firsthand the miracle of families who welcome a child and its birth mother to make fractured lives more than whole, and having been the connection that makes it so, Marie Noel sees life through that wonderful lens. She shares that life is wonderful. God is everywhere. Grace is everywhere. And if we are in touch with God and grace, we are all right.
In the 4th grade, Sister Ann heard the call to be a sister. She shares that she tried hard to ignore it for as long as she could. Winning a full scholarship to St. Mary College sent her away from the cornfields of Iowa, and the moment she stepped out of the cab in front of Berkman's Hall and she saw a sister waiting to welcome her, it sealed the deal. After her freshman year, she went to the SCL novitiate, even though her BVM aunt might have hoped otherwise. Sister Ann is a great connector. She has always enjoyed bringing people together and lifting up their talents and gifts. Always one to say yes to a project, she takes great joy in preparation for liturgy, in the performances of the remnants, the support of young talent, celebrations for the SCL community, and her beloved St. Mary. A deep influence for Sister Ann was the faith of her parents. It wasn't something they talked about, but something they lived faithfully every day. She noticed that her aunt also lived the religious life with deep joy, and that was an attraction. Of her formation, Sister Ann shares, "I was taught early on in my vocation by another sister to pray every day for health, perseverance, and to do the will of God." She and Saint Therese of Lisieux are great friends. She knows that at the end, she will be accompanied down the last aisle by Saint Therese and our Blessed Mother, both old and faithful friends.
Drawn to more serious reflections post-World War II, and remembering the loss of life, the loss of friends, Catherine Combo just knew that she needed to be a sister. Throughout her life, she had been inspired by lives that touched the pulse of justice, like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, fearless Supreme Court Justice, Sister Eileen Sheehy, who marched with Martin Luther King Jr. in Selma, and Sister Frances Therese, motivating teacher at St. Mary College. St. Vincent de Paul was always her inspiration in his humble love for and work in behalf of the poor, working for justice for the poor ones, the poor earth, the poor immigrant, the poor sick, the incarcerated, and especially those under threat of the death penalty. She raised awareness as the social justice coordinator for the SCL community for many years. She continues that tireless work. Marie was one whose door was always open to the seeker, the one looking for ways to more authentically live this journey. Be they of note or simple, she felt God's wisdom comes to all of us in different ways and at different times. It is all the work of God, and if we are trying to listen to God, God will turn on whatever lights are needed.
Her first name in religion, received as a novice, was Sister Mary Antone, after her favorite saint, St. Anthony. At the 75-year milepost in her journey, she counsels, relax, enjoy the simple things in life. Don't take yourself too seriously. Laugh and pray. Dolores' parents died when she was young, but her memories of her father are lasting. She recalls that he was a traveling salesman and did his bookwork at night when she studied. They often both interrupted those tasks for long talks that she held precious when he was no longer there. She sees him kneeling each night by his bed, reading the following of Christ. His devotion and his wisdom talks remain with her. Her years in the classroom and school administration have given her a harvest of lifelong friends. Her love of science and introducing young and curious minds to the mysteries and wonder of the world often took her students to science fairs and on to professions in science, feeding their passion for learning as hers had been fed.
Sister Edna recalls that she heard the call early, but did not think that the life of a sister was for her. In her youth, she lived life to the full, and she and her pack of girlfriends were frequent visitors in her Anaconda home. The Hunthausen family was a welcoming, close-knit family, and those bonds endured through trials and celebrations, birthdays, and leave-taking. St. Mary College changed her thoughts about becoming a sister. After serving as an educator in grade and high schools in Kansas City, Denver, and Livingston, Montana, the opening of the church through the Second Vatican Council was a time awakening for Edna. She was selected as one of the regional coordinators in Region 3, Topeka, Kansas, from 1969 to 1974. With the church opening windows and doors to parish ministry, she worked with parishioners as part of a parish team, a new concept where the collaborative path was being made by walking it. Feeling called to work with the people of the Blackfeet Nation, Edna accepted a position as a pastoral minister at the Church of the Little Flower in Browning, Montana. She served there for over 30 years and was beloved by the Browning community. Sister Edna was gifted a holy eagle feather and a native name, in English, Holy Bird Woman, as she retired. Through it all, as in her early years when she belonged to the group that was affectionately known as the Sullivan Gang, she maintained sustaining relationships that have nurtured her soul, as had her family.
Sister Marie Madeline remembers her experiences with sisters in summer school at home in Chapel, Nebraska. She was to know them better as a student nurse at St. Joseph Hospital in Denver, and was touched by the commitment, education, and service of the sisters. She saw their concern for the patients, and those experiences made a deep and lasting impression on her. Saint Mary Magdalene was the saint she was named after, as she was given her religious name on Habit Day. Magdalene's love of Jesus always drew Sister Marie Magdalene to embrace that same love. Magdalene's courage was a template for what would be necessary to meet the challenges in healthcare and rebuilding after an earthquake disaster. Sister remembers one of her supervisors at St. Joseph who, she recalls, changed my life. That administrator was Sister Alice Marie Schweider, and they would go on to be deeply respected, lifelong friends and collaborators. A mission trip to Sierra Leone brought her in touch with the extreme poor of the suffering world. She also witnessed the grace of healing presence of medical volunteers and donors. Later, the Seton Center in Kansas City presented more challenges in, quote, retirement. Reflecting on the past 75 years, from a young sister of charity to the quick journey of 75 years later, Sister Marie Magdalene reflects, I have been blessed as a member of our community. Thank you, God, and thank you to all of my sister companions along the way.
During her freshman year at St. Mary College, Sister Mary Clarita recalls that I just fell in love with the SCLs and I knew I wanted to be a sister. She remembers that her parents were hesitant at first, concerning that she would be happy. But it was her brother and sister who gave her a hard time teasing. All came around eventually when they saw that she was in the right place. She wasted no time as she joined the SCLs during the month of February that first year, coming before the rest of the novitiate class. The teachers who were inspirational to her included Sister Mary Paul Fitzgerald as a teacher of history. Mary Paul was also on the famous SCL Centennial Committee. Sister Mary Denise, her cousin, 7 years older, also became an SCL and made a great impression on her. Teaching and helping form young minds was the path her vocation would take, and she experienced most of the grade schools staffed by the SCLs at that time. Religious education, housing, and pastoral ministry all gave her new avenues for working with God's people as she served in the Colorado, Leadville, and Denver areas. A special memory is from the celebration of Sister's Golden Jubilee of 50 years. It was a joy of seeing so many people who came to celebrate with her. She especially enjoyed seeing those whom she knew in high school. There are many saints that she holds as friends. St. Clare, her patron, high among them, and Padre Pio, whom she prays to for those who need healing. St. Therese, the Little Flower, the Blessed Mother, and Sacred Heart are also near to her heart. Reflecting on her 70 years, she would like to encourage all SCLs to be grateful for the call and to pray, pray, pray.
Call to bring your love, call to bring your fire everywhere, call to bring your love, your fire everywhere, call to bring your love, call to bring your fire everywhere, call to bring your love. love, your fire everywhere.
As Sister Dolores recalls SCLs who were inspirational to her, Sister Elizabeth Marie comes to mind. A teacher of general science, biology, and homeroom in high school, she was impressed with Sister's goodness. The strongest influence and the rock that she built on was her family and their strong belief system, their love, and their work ethic. She shares the following as illuminating her journey. Trust in God that there will be a harvest, but always put your energy into working for that harvest. Teaching history in high schools and later making history in a new age was right up Sister Dolores's alley. An early voice in social justice, Sister Dolores recalls meeting with Montana Senator Mansfield and in Topeka with Dr. Carl Menninger. She was a strong influence in prison reform, and she pioneered in rural life ministry. Her family and their experience from Montana farming gave her credible experience to speak and to be heard on farm issues. Sister Dolores reflects that from her earliest education through St. Mary College, the Sisters of Charity were strong influences. With God leading the way and her family strong in their Catholic faith, she was grateful for a strong foundation. That faith and German heritage was manifest in the mission church built and maintained by the pioneering families in the wheat fields of Montana around Grey Cliff. It's not hard to still hear those ancestors dotting her language with bits of German that come out so easily, especially raising a glass in a toast. Prosit.
The call for Sister Mary Carlo came little by little, and eventually she just felt undeniably that the Lord was calling her to be a sister. She just loves being an SCL, and when she leaves this life, will say, Lord, I tried to be the best that I could be. A connector with people, Sister continues to revel in visits with her friends, their children and grandchildren, the sisters, the nurses, and aides who help her. She is grateful for it all. With a ruddy smile and a heart open for conversation and connection, Sister Mary Carlo has dear friends wherever she goes. In her spiritual life, she is especially devoted to St. Teresa of Avila, the great St. Teresa. She connects through Teresa's life and teachings. Sister Mary Carlo shares some wisdom gleaned from her journey during this Jubilee time. Sometimes you are asked to do hard things. You may not understand why, but you need to go along and do those things the best you can. Then you will realize that God is always right there helping you.
The call that Sister Julia remembers came in the first grade when she announced she would be a priest. When she was told that couldn't happen, she told her mother that she was going to be a sister, and that's just what she did. She fondly remembers two sisters from her past, especially Sister Elizabeth Ann and Sister Mary Vincent Fritten. Elizabeth Ann always showed what the life of a sister was like beyond teaching, and Sister Mary Vincent had a deeply prayerful demeanor that she admired. A special saint for Julia is Our Lady of Lourdes, because Our Lady's feast day falls on her mother's birthday, and that is very special. She took Mary as her confirmation name because of her, and when Julia entered the SCLs, it was the Marian year, so each member of her group was given a name that had a form of Mary in it. The name Mary has appeared in many ways throughout her life and signals her devotion to the miraculous Our Lady of Lourdes. Early in her years in the community, her charge was the laundry with Sister Roberta Fury, who had the nickname Bird Twig. One hot summer day, they came from the laundry, hot and sweaty, and Roberta perched on the windowsill and started singing, "How much is that doggy in the window?" Of course, Sister Mary Clarence appeared at hand, but left quickly. Later, they found out that she had no energy to reprimand them as she was laughing so hard at the sight. Reflecting on her life as an SCL in all its seasons, Julia shares some words of wisdom. If it's time to give something up, just do it. Time to give up, and give up with grace.
Sister Mary Kenneth recalls working at Southwestern Bell Telephone Company as a secretary when her parish priest, Father Mickey McBrien, shared that he thought she should consider being a sister. He suggested the Mercy Sisters in Independence, Missouri, and when that didn't take, he suggested the Sisters of Charity. When she made an appointment to visit in Leavenworth, Sister Rose Dolores showed her around. She entered when she was 21. As the youngest in her family, she says that she was spoiled by both parents, but mostly her older 6 brothers. Her 2 sisters were great friends. Her father died in a train accident when she was 11 or 12, but she had loving memories of him. Devotion to the Blessed Mother is very important to Mary Kenneth, and she has had that devotion throughout her life, praying to her every day. She has many memories of her classrooms and teaching the little ones. She remembers sometimes the silly things they did and said, and recalled a first grader, Michelle, who turned around in her desk, and Bobby, sitting behind her, kissed her. Sister saw this and declared that the priest would have to be summoned and the marriage celebrated. That stopped any further kissing in the first grade classroom. A sentiment important to Sister Mary Kenneth is we should always be truthful and always be ourselves, always be true to ourselves. She also looks to the church as her lodestar, and she tries to be faithful to the teaching of the church and to live that way. She is also one to enjoy a good sense of humor and happy to join in when the sisters are celebrating a party.
As a freshman in college at St. Mary, Gloria Solomon began to think about being a sister, and within a short time realized that she had a calling to religious life. After talking to Sister Frances Therese about this call, she soon made her final decision and, after her freshman year, joined the SCLs. Growing up, her father played the violin and her uncles played the drums and other instruments. When they were all together, it was a wonderful time. Sharing the gift of music with family and with the sisters has been a great life gift given to her. As a high school teacher in a band class, it was a sight to see her control the group with one hand playing, one hand turning pages, and her eyes always finding anyone out of line. If you were so foolish to be that culprit and caught in her gaze, you were said to have been hit with the laser blues, as it was hard to miss those penetrating blue eyes, even if the band was playing Chariots of Fire. Community friendships are important support in Gloria's life, and she remembers especially Sister Nancy Bauman and Sister Maureen Hall, who have been influences in her life through their love and friendship. The Psalms speak especially to Sister Gloria. She is drawn especially to King David. St. Joseph also had a special place, as does our Blessed Mother, Mary. Through the years playing marimba or piano, she gave an invitation for all to sing and dance along. Praying her psalms and music produced compositions that enhanced our liturgies and remain special blessing. Gloria's words of wisdom to pass along as she celebrates 70 years as an SCL include: cultivate a sense of humor, play cards, and cheat if you don't get caught, and don't forget to enjoy the moment with numerous scoops of ice cream.
At 5 or 6 years old, Sister Catherine Mary recalls putting tea towels on top of her head and playing sister. In the 5th grade, she gave up that idea, thinking that only one from a family could be called, and Sister Anita Marie got there first. Once she found out that was not correct, she was happy to head in that direction once again. A great influence on her life was her father. He was always able to see a good side to things, and he taught her that God can be counted on to take care of everything. She still carries that with her. She also counts on our Blessed Mother as her favorite saint, a good listener, and she always points to her son to help whenever problems arise. Sister remembers a class who told her that she was strict, but not mean, and one of the young lads also added that she was fair. Sharing the wisdom gleaned over the past 70 years, words that has sustained her along the way include: accept whatever God puts into your life. And another that helps is, always keep a good sense of humor.
Call to bring your love, call to bring your fire everywhere, call to bring your love, your fire everywhere. Call to bring your love, call to bring your fire everywhere, call to bring your